Good afternoon. Wow, great energy, huh? Almost the end of the day, everyone's coffee effect is wearing off, thinking about plans for dinner, right? And here's the medical guy, who apparently is one of 4 or 5 unicorns. Are they still here, or usually medical, maybe are reviewing stuff? Oh no, they're here. Okay, excellent. Hello, fellows. Okay, so I'm counting on you. My session today is about stop saying we can't measure medical impact, because I'm sure everybody always asks this question, or is it actually a question? Is there actually really a doubt about the impact of medical? Because when we ask people, they say, no, medical are really crucial, right? Medical is the lifeboat. Like you cannot have a company without medical. Like legal will not allow it. We need to have this guy sitting in the back office with all the paperwork and everything. He saves us. Or we have Dr. No. You know, medical is always telling us no for stuff. So why didn't you get this material out on time? Medical. Why didn't this event happen? Medical. You know, so that's one of the great personas of medical, right? That's our job. And then you have Dr. Data. So whenever you want to sell something, do something, you go to medical and say, like, figure out, you know, give me data that shows this and that, because I want medical to do it, and we're just a data dispenser, like the guy over here. Or finally, Mr. Fix-It, or should I say Dr. Fix-It. So whenever a problem comes up, a bad relationship with a KOL, with a society, something happened, you screw something up in the field, who do you call? Dr. Fix-It, or the medical department. And these are the medical misfits, and everybody is happy, commercial is happy, the organization is running, everything is on point. However, there was a new misfit, Dr. Enigma, which is the MSL, right? The guy that goes to the field. And commercial were like, what are you doing in the field? Like, seriously, you work less hours than sales reps, you have access to the best KOLs, you do not engage in promotional activities, you get paid more than a sales rep, and you don't have a sales target. Like, who the F hired you, right? It's Armageddon in the field. The sales reps are mad, like, what do we do? So we go to finance. We tell them, guys, we need to find something. We need to measure medical impact. Oh, easy. Let's go for number of visits, number of activities, number of insights, percentage of coverage of KOLs, and some ridiculous thing that the subjective evaluation of scientific advocacy. Seriously? Like you go to a doctor and you have a set of sentences and then which one he agrees with, and then you say, ooh, hey, great job. You're doing a great job, but the sales are not moving, right? Oh, sorry, I said sales. Sorry, God forgive me. I'm medical. I mentioned the word. But the question is, what if I try to give you a solution that maybe you can bring back and a nice framework to go with it? So the solution is what we create a patient-centric, which, by the way, I haven't heard anyone mention anything about a patient today, but it's okay. We'll deal with that later in the food. Outcome-centric, growth-centric persona. What if we can evolve the medical function, or any function, to have these 3 things? And you get your player of the game, or Dr. Pog, who's empowering care, delivering impact, and shaping tomorrow. You say, okay, wow, great presentation. Thank you so much. Next presentation. No, I still have 16 minutes. Because I'm here to tell you some practical tips on how maybe this could happen. So let's start with the patient-centric. Putting the patient at the center of everything we do. Yeah, easier said than done. So for this, I'm going to share with you the circle framework. Then you have outcome-centric, which is having the impact in mind before deciding on your activities, which is the triangular framework. And then we have, which framework? Who knows that shape? Hexagon, nice, good. We have some good visibility here in the room. Okay, good vision, sorry. So the growth-centric, which is building the right capabilities. And by the way, you don't need to take photos. You just follow me, send me a message, and I will send you the slides. That's how I market my brand. Now, let's go into the patient-centric. So usually, and I might be biased, okay? But that's an observation out of the 14, 15 years and speaking to other people in pharma. Usually what we do is there is the commercial strategy, medical strategy, access strategy, engagement strategy, patient strategy, and then the list goes on, right? And then you have 800, 900 strategies, and each strategy is working on its own. So what if we have one strategy? One strategy that has the patient in mind. Okay, what is the outcome that I want to achieve? Why do I have a drug other than making money? Why did I invest in COPD or asthma or heart failure or anything? Because I want to improve an outcome. Am I the only crazy guy here, or that's right? Do I see some nodding? Yeah? Okay, so we're trying to improve an outcome. So with the outcome in mind, what is my strategy? And then from that strategy, you have the cross-functional tactics, out of which you have the medical impact plan, which I will cover in the triangle. Then you have the stakeholder mapping. Only then you choose your stakeholders, please. Can we stop having this list of KOLs that we always start with? You know, these are the list of 150 that we need to engage. Okay, why? Let's start with the why. Let's start with the outcome. And then we go into the choosing the stakeholders, engaging, measuring the impact, assessing if we're doing the right impact or not, and the most important step is the course correction. When you don't think about course correction and reevaluating what you've done and if you've done the right thing and then criticizing your own other things, then you are back to a linear engagement or in the strategy instead of the circular one. So Dr. Pog, he avoids the multiple strategies, he avoids the golden list of KOLs, omni-channel for the sake of it, just because we like the word, and then the absence of the impact measurement and no course correction. Which takes me to the triangle. The triangle basically is telling you, start with the patient outcome, think about the impactful contributions, and then decide on your activity. That's easy. The problem is, we do the opposite. We start with the activities. We say, I want 50 activities per month, 40 visits, that's your quota. And then whatever comes out of it, and then we hope something sticks. So when you start with the patient outcomes, you think, okay, how do I achieve that outcome? I need to do X, Y, and Z. Who do I engage? What are the activities that need to run? I gather the insights from those activities and see if I'm improving or I'm accomplishing that impactful contribution. And then finally, I achieve the patient outcome. You're going to ask me two questions. One is, what are impactful contributions? Great word. I will explain that. The second question you're going to ask me is, okay, but how can we report that? Which I'm also going to answer that. Impactful contributions. We all know scientific education. MSLs and medical are really great at that, but sometimes we just stop there. There are many companies that do more than that, and again, I'm trying to generalize here. Strategic partnerships. How many times do you see actually MSLs engaging with their cross-functional colleagues in strategic partnerships? If this is happening, bravo. If not, something needs to be done. And when I talk about strategic partnerships, it's how do we collaborate with regulators, with payers, with healthcare providers to support the evidence-based decisions that they need to make to ensure access to the medicine and also impact to patients. Evidence generation, we are involved in that, but sometimes what happens is that we just go and say, okay, Dr. X wants to do a certain study, or can we involve Dr. Y in that study? We want to go a bit farther than that. How can we leverage our medical teams to work with the development teams to tell them these sites can recruit patients faster than the other site, or this doctor has better experience than the other doctor. This way you speed up your development trials, and most importantly, you start understanding what insights and data are needed for your integrated evidence plan. Anybody heard of an integrated evidence plan? That's good. Almost 30%. Great. So an integrated evidence plan is when you start looking into what are the missing data pieces so that you can ensure registration, you can ensure reimbursement, and you can ensure a bit of a competitive advantage. So the only way you understand or you know what real-world evidence or implementation science or other clinical trials you need to do is by getting the insights from the field, which the MSLs play an important role in, but we don't do it very often. Or we get the insights and just throw them. And the last one is healthcare system strengthening, something that many companies are doing a lot, which I'm not going to name, but it's all about how do we help the healthcare systems that are failing to have certain protocols in place or clinical pathways that help improve the usage of guideline-directed medical therapies. And this is something that also the MSLs, and some great examples, have been able to do that. Now you will say, okay, but it's easier for me to measure the number of visits because I just look at the CRM. There are many CRM people here. I saw some from Viva, from Salesforce. I'm sure there are others as well. Well, they could easily help us integrate something like that, right? Where you have the medical impact plan, you decide, okay, what is your patient outcome? What is the output? And by the way, the output is a sub of the outcome. So let's say the outcome you want to reduce hospitalization rate for COPD exacerbations over a certain amount of time, 3 years, 4 years. The output needs to be a bit more short-term, so guideline-directed medical therapy implementation. And then you say, in order to do that, these are the impactful contributions. We need to go for education, create clinical pathways, support generation of real-world evidence, and these are the categories of the 4 I just showed you. Then an individual MSL could have something like that, where he says, okay, I'm going to take the education one, and I have these 2 regions where I'm going to conduct this education. These are the different milestones: briefing, selecting, deciding on who are the experts who are going to join, and then the status, and then also on the same software, they can show that it has been completed. They have to put certain documents that show more than subjective evaluation, so surveys, whether it's external or pre- and post-event surveys, evaluations, and then it gets the manager approval. And then when you do that, this could actually become your dashboard for MSLs. Not only the number of visits, but you can see how many impactful contributions they are committed to, how many are in progress, how many are completed, what are the different categories that they're looking at, and most importantly, if you look at the engagements and the percentage linked, what I'm trying to solve here is to avoid the coffee chats. I'm not saying they're not important, but many times when you push quotas on your people, you push 40 visits or 50 visits, let's not lie to each other, okay? Like 50% maybe of those visits are just casual ones. How's your wife? How was your vacation? How did things happen? But then when you force them to link it to an impactful contribution, this invites dialogue. Because then you can go to your MSL and tell him, to fulfill the impactful contribution of scientific education, it took you 20 engagements with 5 different experts and 4 months. What happened? The other MSL was able to do it with only 5 engagements, 1 KOL in 1 month. So these are the sort of metrics you can start getting, and this is the conversation that you can start having. So Dr. Pog again. So he avoids focusing on high volume on activities and trying for something to stick, focusing only on data generation and dissemination, lacking a clear purpose for each activity or each visit, and relying on vanity metrics instead of really tracking impactful contributions and meaningful patient outcomes. Now, it might sound easy, let's do it, but we know there needs to be a lot of change management. And it's not only about change management, it's about, do people in medical have the capability to really think that way or really do that in the field with the current capabilities that they have? So this is where the growth comes in, how to be growth-centric. Because the principled scientific expertise, there's no doubt it's there. But then, do we have medical leaders that are really thinking about a transformational leadership? Being able to stand up and say, I want to transform my medical team from A to B. I want to stop looking at vanity metrics and want to look at other sorts of impact measurement. I want to experiment in this impact model or this new model or this AI software for my MSLs and for my medical team. Do we have the business acumen? A lot of times I meet MSLs, they're great physicians, they're scientists, they know the data, but then you try to talk to them about the business, say, no, I focus on the science. This is what the data says. Great. Go to the United Nations or other NGOs, right? You can go there. There's no business target. There's nothing. You can discuss all the science that you want. But you need to have certain balance of the science, but also use the science in an ethical way to meet a business need. That's why we hire you, to be a smart guy, okay? Not just a scientific guy. So that brings the strategic and the enterprise mindset that maybe some are missing and others have. And this is why you see maybe some companies in the scientific or the medical field outperforming other companies. Data mastery. We all know that data is the most precious currency of the future. And medical are able to really harvest that data through partnerships, through research collaborations, through supporting IITs, through real-world evidence, implementation science. All this data is precious. Who can nowadays, with all the complicated therapies that we have and the innovations and the high-priced medications, who can ensure access to a therapy without evidence, or pricing without evidence, or without HEOR, or without any new data? No one can. Digital agility, we spoke a lot about AI, embracing the digital advances, being open to having these digital tools or AI supporting MSLs, but please, for heaven's sake, don't throw stuff at MSLs. At one point, I saw an MSL needing to juggle 7 to 8 different digital platforms because 7 to 8 different digital vendors, and there was no one vendor that provided all the solutions, so they had to go from app to app, from thing to thing, to really fulfill their day. And this gets really cumbersome. Last but not least, effective communication. Being able to stand, to speak, to say what works, what doesn't work. Being able to really have good discussions with management, upper management, the guys upstairs, being able to stand up for what medical represents. Why do we still see medical reporting to commercial? Why? Do we think medical cannot lead? If there's a problem with leadership, let's fix it in a different way by building capabilities instead of just having the wrong reporting lines, right? So Dr. Pog would like to receive additional capability trainings, but also he would like to have hands-on opportunities. So again, the commercial people in the room, did anybody have any rotation or any notion of medical before? Raise your hand. Okay, 4 unicorns. Medical, you're already unicorns, but did any of you do any stuff in commercial before? 1, 2, 3. That's great. So how do we see more of that? How do we see more medical in this room being interested in customer engagement and AI, and it's not just a commercial topic? How do we stop seeing events that are purely just for medical and events that are purely for commercial, and we see pharma events that have mixed sessions and not parallel sessions, all focusing on one thing, which is the innovation, the patient outcomes, and the future? So how do we also have medical stop being positioned as a support function? Because with all the data and the value that medical could bring, it should be looked at as a strategic partner. And then finally, how can we get medical not overlooked for leadership roles with the assumption that only commercial are equipped to lead the organization? I didn't know that there'd be so many commercial people. Okay, I'm just joking. This last one, commercial, you're the best, guys. So, as a takeaway, remember just the 3 frameworks if there was a lot of talk. The circular framework, where we look at the patient, put the patient in the center, start with the outcome in mind, then shape your strategy and tactics, choose the right stakeholders, engage, measure, and course correct. Be outcome-centric. Focus on the patient-centered outcomes, define impactful contributions, and align your activities to achieve them. And also be growth-centric. Build future-proof capabilities, but there's nothing that says it's future-proof unless you continuously evolve in this ever-changing landscape. So with the last 24 seconds, I'm just going to take a breath. And thank you for listening.